Welcome to the Deal Doctor live stream, Monday, January 1st. January 10th. Got to add a zero there. Anyway, welcome. Today we have a special guest, Doug Hale. So today we're going to have the Doug and Don show, and we want to talk about some of the things that realtors can say and what they can't say. So let's get to it. Again, welcome, Doug Hale.
Hey, thanks for having me, Don. This is pretty exciting. I don't know what to say. I feel very flattered that I'm here. So
we're happy to have you, and I'm sure you'll contribute here. Let's get started with the word safe. Can you help us understand a little better what problems we run into when somebody says something like, I want to live in a safe neighborhood?
Absolutely. Well, it's interesting that you said that because I was dealing with somebody over the weekend, and that was the very first thing that they said. Doug, I feel very comfortable and confident with you, but I really want to live in a safe neighborhood. So again, my comment back to them was, well, help me understand what a safe neighborhood means to you. So we opened up some dialogue around that. I shared with them, how subjective the term safe is, because it really is to a lot of people. It's kind of a very, we call it a slippery slope, because you want to be careful what you're saying at that point in time. We always have them kind of identify what a safe neighborhood means to them. Is it the school system? Is it that they don't have to worry about things in the neighborhood or whatnot? And again, for me, it's been interesting that these folks, I'm using them as an example, they were very detailed in terms of what they were looking for, or what the word safe meant to them. Again, I keep going back to the liability under fair housing from a real estate perspective. What can I say? What can't I say? If people are talking about looking at the crime logs and things like that, I will be very quick to refer them, to have them do that work, to do the necessary things that they need to do. But at that point in time, again, I know as real estate people, we all feel like we owe to our buyers, our fiduciary responsibility is to do this or to do this. This is where you have to be very careful about what those things are. So being specific about listening to them and possibly referring them to those resources that they can go gain that information on their own.
So really, if I'm understanding you, Doug, the first step when you hear a subjective term like that, whether it's safe or something else, the first step is to probe and get some better clarity about what they mean, what their definition of that word is. Is that what I'm hearing?
That is correct. And again, it's a good conversation to have, because, as I said before, safe means different things to different people. And again, being able to identify what is it that means to you. Again, is it about the crime? Is it about the school system? What is it specifically? And then be able to refer them or have them go find that necessary information, probably on their own much of the time.
Yeah. So let's assume for the moment that there is, in their description, their definition of the word safe, there is no fair housing violation. It's not based on ethnicity, a person or couple in the neighborhood that they don't agree with, and so on. But let's say that it's not a fair housing violation. Let's say that they're talking about the crime statistics, or they're talking about school MEP scores. You're saying that they should go and investigate those things on their own. Is that correct?
I am. Okay. I am. That, very much so.
And do you?
There are going to be specific questions that they will have, and whether that's contacting, a school system and looking at MEP scores if they're concerned with that. Again, the information that a school district can provide them is a lot more information than, for example, Doug Hale as the real estate agent can provide. And there's specific questions that they're going to want to ask that, again, I'm going to refer them every time to those people that are best best fit to answer those questions.
So we're okay providing them or sending them in a direction that they can find the information once they have identified their concerns, their definition for the word safe, for example, so long as there is no potential fair housing violation involved. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay.
That's correct.
Let's pretend for a moment that there is a fair housing violation involved, that when they define the word safe, they use language which would lead us to believe that they intend to discriminate on the basis of a protected class. Now what do we do?
Yeah, that's a very good question. And again, having that upfront discussion, kind of the do's and don'ts about what we can do and what we can't do. Again, that's where I think that conversation has to go. Obviously, no discriminatory language can be used, talking about neighborhoods, talking about, like you said, the makeup of the neighborhood. We have to be very careful in terms of what and I use the term slippery slope, because I feel like it is. A lot of times real estate people will want to over communicate or go out and get this information for their buyers. And the reality is, again, that gets into another very, what do I want to say, kind of a cloudy area, that they better at that point in time not go down that road, if that's what I'm saying.
So the term I use is hard stop. Hard stop. When someone indicates to me that their definition of a safe neighborhood includes potential discrimination, I very often will say to them, I can't go there. I won't go there. It's a violation of the law. Hard stop, not an option. How do you present that to
I was just going to say, I want to use that same term that you had, because I've said that to people and I've been very candid about that. At this point in time, folks, we can't have this discussion, because if it's a violation of fair housing, and again, knowing more about what that means, especially as a real estate agent, you've really got to define the do's and don'ts, what you can say, what you can't say, and again, who knows who you're talking with? If you're talking to somebody that knows more about that than you do, you want to be a little careful about some of those words that are coming out of your mouth. So I love your word, hard stop.
Okay. Do we have any questions? Post them here, and we'll try to answer them within this live stream. If we can't do it live, we will answer them later. If you log on, we'll still answer them later today, on into the evening, and so on. There's a Redfin article, and I encourage people to review it. I thought that I had it here as a link, but maybe I don't. You know what? I'm going to try to pull that up and post the Redfin article that we pulled some of this information from. But in the meanwhile, let's talk about Megan's Law and the Sex Offender Registry. Again, Doug, share your thoughts on whether agents are permitted to share that information with their clients.
Again, I'm going to be real brief with that, Don. I'm going to use your word, hard stop. The answer to that is no. Again, that is information that, in my opinion, and I've never been down that road, I've literally had people go out and gain their own information based on that. I've had to be very careful about going to that next level. I'm not sure I'm answering your question, but again, as far as going out and seeking data from places like the sex offender registry and things like that, there's a lot of data that's in those sex registries that might not be accurate.
Well, I think you raised an excellent point, and it really comes down to a question of liability. From the law standpoint, the law does not preclude us from sharing that information that we got from the Michigan State Police Registry. However, if it is discovered later that that information is incorrect, and we have shared that information, now we're in a position of being liable for the information that we shared.
We shared, correct.
So if the word safe, going back to the initial start of this conversation, if that client identifies that as part of their definition, that they want to make sure that there are no one is on the sex offender registry that might be a neighbor, then it would be wise to share the link to the Michigan State Police Sex Offender Registry and say, it's really up to you to check that because we don't want to get in a position of being liable for any information later. Would that be correct?
And Don, I use those exact words to people, and they kind of look at me a little bit different initially. But again, I'm still trying to say, go out, vet that information on your own, because again, I don't want to be the one that's delivering wrong information.
Yep.
By no means. So, and again, most people, if you phrase it right as a real estate professional, most people are going to understand that and respect where you're coming from.
Let's talk a little bit about some of the limitations. I'm going to go back for a moment. What happens when someone posts something about 5-star or a 5-star agent on a Google review or on their own Facebook page or in a group? What happens when they post something that is derogatory toward 5-star or a 5-star agent? What do we do then?
Well, the simple answer, and I had this happen the other day, an agent called me and asked me the same question, and I said, for heaven's sakes, call the Deal Doctor line immediately. Immediately when that happens. I know we have very little control, and people, because of social, the way it is today, people feel like they can get on and post what they want when they want. But we need to be aware of that immediately. Whether it's on 5-star or one of our agents or support staff, whomever that is, we definitely need to look into that right away.
I totally agree, and I want to let everyone know that we don't take it lightly when somebody goes on Facebook and bashes us, the company or its agents. We investigate it rapidly, and we take action as appropriate against any defamatory remarks that may be made. So again, call the Deal Doctor line if that ever occurs, and let us know, let us get involved as quickly as possible. Okay?
And Don, you and I know, as much as we see online today, that a lot of the comments that come out there, that you wonder where on earth did those comments come from, and why did that happen in the way that it happened. You want to be able to take each one of those as serious as you can, address each one of those. And again, we don't, to your point, I echo exactly what you said. We do not take those lightly at all. Those are things that we take seriously. We stay up nights worried about those things. It is about our reputation. It is about who we are. And again, that's an important piece. So.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's talk about the NAR, National Association of Realtors Code of Ethics. There's been some changes over the last year or so. And we want to talk about, first of all, Article 10. How was that? Can you explain how that was expanded under Article 10-5? I think it goes back about 15 months ago or thereabouts.
Well, I can't explain a lot because that's where, again, I know very little about that, Mr. Phelan.
Okay, sorry to put you on the spot.
I can react only to what I know.
Okay.
It feels subjective again. We're talking a little bit about speech, right? Deemed offensive, discriminatory, that kind of thing.
National Association of Realtors, Article 10, talks about discrimination on the basis of race, color, creed, and so on. But it goes on in Article 10-5, where they expanded it a little more than a year ago, to say that they are going to act against realtors if a realtor posts that information or anything in their personal posts on social media and so on. If their behavior in public, in a public forum like Facebook or Instagram or Twitter is in violation of that Article 10 Code of Ethics, defamatory and discriminatory speech, that they will can be pursued within the NAR Code of Ethics process. So we have to be very careful in what is said, regardless of whether it is in your private Facebook page, for example, or not. Whether it's in communication, verbal, social media, anything. And I don't know that all agents are aware that they can face a NAR tribunal in the event that they were to say something that is discriminatory within their own Facebook page. So I want to bring that to light if agents are not aware of that.
Well, it's a good thing I say nothing but nice things.
Yes, and you have a lovely reputation, Doug.
I love it. I love it. Well, but in all seriousness, too, Don, it has everything to do with, what we say professionally, and whether that's in our social or whether that's in our conversations with other agents, things like that. This is about a business of reputation. And what do we say? That our reputation supersedes us sometimes when we want to make sure we're taking the high road 100% of the time. Because again, buyers and sellers are going to come and go, but our reputation with other real estate agents, lenders, anybody in our professional circle, again, that can't be treated lightly.
Well, you're the master of the segue, because Article 15 addresses issues about disparaging other realtors, but it's larger than that, and sometimes agents don't necessarily recognize that. But I want to read the actual Article 15 language. It says, realtors shall not knowingly or recklessly make false or misleading statements about other real estate professionals, their businesses, or their business practices. So I think it's really important that to hear that language a little bit differently than maybe we've heard it in the past. We've known for years that we can't say bad things about other realtors, but it actually goes on to encompass lenders, appraisers, inspectors, anybody who is involved in the real estate business. If we're saying something that might be false, that we don't have substantiation for, we have to be extremely careful. And I know that I have seen on Facebook Connect some examples of agents, let's say, evaluating a lender, a particular lender, for example, and saying, yeah, I had a really bad experience with them and I wouldn't use them at all. We have to be careful because we don't know what the circumstances of that bad experience were. Would you agree?
I would agree 100%. And we always talk about what goes around comes around. You get to a point that if you're saying something about a lender that you can't substantiate it, and first of all, from a professional standpoint, again, you have to really, again, this is where you say, think first, talk second. We're talking about lenders, we're talking about appraisers. The world of real estate is really small when you think about it. That people know, and again, I've been in conversations with agent after agent that said, well, for heaven's sakes, I wouldn't call this lender because they give out pre-approval letters like candy. They really don't qualify your buyer. Well, kind of have to be a little careful about saying that. And again, maybe you could refer them to another lender. Again, there's a professional way of handling that. But to your point, you just can't engage in that talk with anybody about those things, whether it's lenders, appraisers, or so on. So.
Yeah, I know that sometimes we get frustrated with an appraiser who has or an inspector who has a reputation as a deal killer. And we know they exist. But we can't go down that road of stating that on Facebook Connect or in our realtor forums on Facebook and so on. We have to be extremely careful about what we present to make sure that we have facts that substantiate it. So, any final thoughts?
No, I like what we're talking about here because it is all about our reputation. It is all about our integrity. It is about the way we handle ourselves professionally. And Lord knows there's a lot of places that you can get words out, social, our emails, our texts, Connect. There's just a lot of places that we have to be so sensitive to what we're saying. And we have to be so respectful to those people that we just talked about. So I agree with 100% of what we're talking about today, Don. It's good. It's good stuff to keep in mind.
Okay, I'm going to try to jump over here and get a question. See if we can grab it before we sign off here. Oh, goodness. Sorry. Can you read the question, Don?
Yeah. So it's Michelle Lipka. She asks, what if it shows up on your personal feed, but it was something a friend posted in regards to posting on social media? And can you pull Doug back up?
Oh,
Well, that's a deal doctor question. Dr. Dodd,
I'm
what
sorry.
are you thinking?
Let me get this straight, Michelle. Just clarify, someone else posted something about a lender or another agent on your page? Is that what I'm understanding?
I believe so, or if you were tagged in it, potentially.
Boy, I would feel very uncomfortable having that on my own page. I would probably remove the tag or if it was on my page, delete it from my page. I just wouldn't feel comfortable having that information posted by somebody else and having it appear as if I played a role in it. Doug, what do you think?
Yeah, no, I totally agree. I mean, there's certain things that you can control. And if this is a friend of Michelle's, was that what I was hearing Dom say?
That's my understanding of what's happening.
I would want that off my Facebook page. So I agree with what you just said.
Okay.
For sure.
Any other questions? Okay. Thank you, Doug. Thanks for joining.
Yeah.
Thank you for joining. Next week, Eric Graham is going to be sitting in this chair and is going to be bringing you a lot of information about earnest money deposits, and I'm sure that you will tune in. You get a lot of information. Thanks for joining. We'll see you next week.
Thanks much.